So we've got the Waratahs and the Force in Sydney. We'll all be there. Harry and Nelson will be 17 beers deep before the kickoff even begins. Will you not be there, Harry?
No, I will. I just wanted to make sure I got to say the first point about injuries, because this is breaking news. If you haven't read it anywhere else before, then we are the first to tell you. And that is Will Harrison has re-injured his ACL. I shouldn't joke about that. The bloke coming back from his toe injury, played club footy on the weekend, re-injured his ACL early in the match, and he's going to be gone for the season again, which is, to be honest, devastating news for the Waratahs' season hopes, because I think he was probably the answer that we were hoping for at 15. But
chatting to him.
Done for the year, sadly. Both teams coming off the bye, so there's obviously no other injury news beyond that. But plenty of players coming back. You've got the overuse ward in the Western Force with Folau Fainga, Michael Wells, and Manasa Mateeli all battling their Achilles overload issues. So they should all be fit and firing, I would think, after having a week off. Bryce Hegarty should be back. He's now had 3 weeks off with his back injury, back spasms. So there's a decent chance that he's back. The really grumbly ones can take longer than that, but generally I think someone fit and healthy like these footy players, if there's not something seriously wrong, I'd expect him playing. And Sammy Spink was concussed in round 6 as well, so you should see him.
True. And what about the Tars? There's a few names there for the Tars coming back.
A lot of names. Basically, the entire Tars injury ward is back. Masesi Tuapolotu back from his MCL injury, or expected back. Langy Gleeson from his calf injury. Archer Holtz has been managing a rib injury and had a few weeks off, so he should be right. Namani Nandolo had a 1 week off, just managing that knee. And again, with the bye, I think he'll be fine. Lockie Swinton missed round 6 with a neck injury and is expected to play as well. And then you've got a few in the maybe categories as well. Tane Edmed, Hugh Sinclair, and Mehi Vailanu all needed further clearance this week from the docks, but they're all at chance as well.
Very good.
That's a full squad of 23.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Close.
There's a few players back for this one. They'll all be frothing at the bit to get out there. I guess, look, starting with the Tars, Will Harrison, as we said, we were hoping he'd be the answer there at 15. So let's start with that back 3 balance. Max Jorgensen, if he's fit, is he the first choice fullback?
I think he is. I think we didn't expect him pre-season necessarily to get a start throughout the year, and he flourished on the wing. And then I think given that chance at fullback, he looked very, very good. And they need a long-term solution there for the rest of the year, and he's done very well there. I don't think Donaldson stuck his hand up to be the 15. He hasn't necessarily stuck his hand up to be the 10, but he might be given another chance there at the moment, depending what happens with Tane. But yeah, Yorgo's the fullback for me. I think he's just been good enough. We've got Peach, Marky Mark, Nwanganitawasi, and Nadolo, who will fight it out for those other 2 wing spots. And that pushes Harry Wilson out of the 23, who, young guy, he's probably got a big future ahead of him, but there's some stocks in that outside backs. The only other name there we've got is Ben Dowling, who, very small player, but he had a good showing there at fullback. He's another one that could take a chance if it's given to him.
Another youngster, yeah. No, he started 1 game and he looked all right in it, but you'd have to think it's Jorgensen for sure. Yeah. But speaking of, positions where there's, who do you start there? I guess, as opposed to fullback where we don't have lots of options, the back row, we've got plenty of options. How do we see? I mean, I think we all agree that we would see Langy Gleeson straight back into 8. His form was incredible. He was the best player in the Tars for those couple of games he was playing. It was unbelievable. And as a result of that, do we see Swinton back to 6, Will Harris to the bench? I don't think we've actually seen them ever run Will Harris and Gleeson at the same time at 6 and 8. I think they've kind of reserved them both as number 8s.
I think off the bench. I think off the bench they have.
Right.
Yeah, I think potentially at the very back end of last year we saw that as well, didn't we?
Okay. I don't think we've seen them start at 6 and 8, but we may have. But I guess for mine, so Swinton, he at 6. Otherwise, Taleni Siu, he started at 6 the last game they played before the bye, and he looked absolutely electric for mine. His awesome carries really getting stuck into his work. He's obviously in the task squad as a lock, but they're quite clearly we see Jed Holloway and Ned Hannigan the starting 2 locks. So it's either see you on the bench to provide cover for everything, or, I mean, we could possibly see him start at 6 again over Swinto.
Yeah, and look, the other one for me is that Hoops has played every minute but the last 10 minutes of round 6. I know they're coming off a bye, but the bloke's meant to have 3 rest weeks in the season, and I'm just not sure when they're going to do that. I know that Coleman had said they're going to go hard at the first block, which is obviously up to this point, before they worry about any of their Wallabies buys, but that's going to start to catch up with them now. You know, the likes of Jed Holloway, Michael Hooper, just to name a couple, Dave Parecki, that are due to have some rest. Parecki probably maybe had a bit of a break because of some injuries, but I wonder if they're going to hold off until Gamble's back next week or the week after from his shoulder injury. But if that's not a guarantee, then they're going to start looking for another answer. I'm not sure really what their backup plan is to cover the 7 jersey if Gamble's not fit.
No, just run Will Harris, Langy Gleeson, and Taleni Siu. Just run them all 3 of them, put them out there.
So no Swinton.
Yeah, or Swinto. Who needs a 7, mate?
Right. Yeah, no, make Swinton your 7. But no, look, I think you wait for Gamble. Off the back of, last week's bye, there's no point to go Hooper. Take 2 weeks off at this point. Give him a match or 2, and then give him a week off. To me, it makes more sense in terms of load management rather than go, let's just deload you completely for 2 weeks. Spread it out over the few weeks.
Yeah.
Masesi Tuapolotu over Joey Walton on the bench. Everyone happy with that? If he gets the opportunity, he's fit.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I want to see. And I feel for Walton. We've talked positives about him in the last couple of years, Harry, that he hasn't had those shots because of his injuries. But Tuapolotu showed a lot more promise for me.
Absolutely.
And I guess that takes us to the Western Fourths. I mentioned Falafenga, Wells and Madieli with their Achilles stuff. I feel like they're all fit. Tony Pulu was obviously pulled late in round 6, so we're waiting to see if he's fit. If he is fit, do you still start Madieli, or does he get punted out of the 23 again, Craigs? Considering that he looked a little better when he had a run last game.
I don't think you were giving him enough credit for last game. I think maybe I didn't get to watch the whole of the second half of that game where he must have been very quiet. But the first half,
yeah, you should watch all 80 minutes if you're going to make a judgment on his 80-minute performance.
No. Well, mate, I saw enough. I saw all I needed to see in that first half, and in that first half, he made some great breaks. He looked electric. So I just thought, mate, get this bloke on the field at all costs, which we've all been saying all year. But so I think.
Mate, you said last week that he was probably the man of the match, and you just admitted you didn't watch most of the match. So we probably shouldn't listen to you
the 40 minutes that I watched. The 40 minutes I watched, he was bad. So I just assumed he carried that form on to the second half. He clearly didn't.
That's probably all we needed from you, I reckon. So Kibarigi should be one wing, and no, mate, you give Mataele the other wing. Just give him a chance. Excellent. Not because he was the best of the season in his 5 minutes last week that you watched, but because it's Mataele, mate, you give him a crack.
Yep, I 100% agree. Just start the bloke because he's your best player.
Speaking of a bloke to just start because he's better than everyone else, mate, Isaac Fines. Can we just start him at halfback? To me, he is so clearly by far their best halfback, and it kind of brings a much-needed spark and just ask questions around the breakdown that just aren't being asked.
That's valid though. Like the issue is he does bring a spark from the bench. Like he's your Falau Fakatava. He brings a spark when you need it in the back end. Gareth Simpson's been doing very well. Harry and I have obviously voiced our thoughts about this. We want Fine starting.
Even just sounds boring. You know what I mean? Like you fallen asleep to the sound of his name.
Change it to Homer. But no, look, Fines we love, and if they want to back him for the future, mate, get him on. But he is being forced into a role of Falau Fakatava, and if you don't want him to be the guy coming off the bench for the rest of eternity, you have to give the bloke starts. You can't just go, let's put whoever we want in front of him and give him that bench role, unless that's what you want him for.
It still begs the question, where is Ian Pryor? They're potentially down both their first choice 10, so they need a goal kicker as well. Ian Pryor should be kicking goals for them. Where's he? We've heard nothing about him being injured.
Is it Kunzel kicking them? Or Bryce Hegarty will if he's not.
Bryce Hegarty was injured last week as well, so we still have no clarity yet on if Hegarty's going to be around because the Force just haven't released any information yet about it. But I think he had a shoulder injury. It looked pretty nasty. So I reckon there's a decent chance that Stewart's not there. And if Bryce Heckerty's not back from his back injury, then, yeah, I think Kunzel has to play 10. And, I mean, he hasn't played there for a fair while. I think he's a good 10, mind you, better than an outside centre where he played a few weeks ago. But, man, there's a lot of change there for this team again.
I mean, look, or just run Manasa Mataele out at 10. You know what I mean? That's fine. Like, because he'll just run the ball every time. But, no, okay.
Or Kagi, hear me out. Bring another Mataele on the field.
That's it. Look, you'll never hear me. There's no amount of Mataeles on a field that I'll ever be upset about. You know what I mean? The more, the merrier.
I only learned this weekend that his sister's playing for the Western Force as well.
I filled Harry in with that nugget. Yeah, and I think it's Martha Mataele. Just bring them all on.
How good. Adopted. They're definitely adopted. They can play for the Wallabies. Guys, if it does come to it and Bailey Kunzel plays 10, who plays in the other centre position? It has to be George Pullman, right? Is there anyone else that could play there? Strawn? Maybe Strawn could play centre?
I think you're giving Strawn a crack. Like, I don't think Pullman's shown enough.
I think you answered it earlier, mate. Just Rupeni Mataele. Get him in there. That's fine, you know. Centres, wherever, mate.
They've got Grayson Makara, who, you know, I think they gave glimpses and cracks of in the past, and he's still quite young. Maybe he's a guy that they give a chance, but Pullman's been the guy that's been backing on the bench.
Otherwise, look,
he's not 12.
I was going to say, they recalled Jeremy Thrush, mate. Just give Richard Kahui the phone call, get him on a plane back here as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'd all feel better about that, to be honest. I know it goes against what we talked about in the last podcast, but Richard Kahui is an exception, mate. That guy's got another 5 good years in him. Let's be honest.
They've brought in another Kiwi, Fuliaki, who I think was on the bench for them actually in their last outing. Again, we said don't do this, but maybe that's what they'll do. Because
all right, we're not.
I don't think he was.
Re-ranting the force rant from last week.
I'm pretty sure he was.
But no. Last questions on this one. Ollie Callan. So he was on the bench the last time the Force played. Do we see him starting at 7? And then who drops out of that back row? Anstey's dropped to the bench. Right, they seem hell bent on playing Raboni at 8, but does that change with Michael Wells being available?
Look, I think in the way that the scrum is being played now, you just play your most dynamic ball runner at 8 because it's such a strike weapon off the back of the scrum. So I think Bonnie is that guy when you think about all 3 of those players, along with Tim Anstey as well. I probably would play Wells at 6, Bonnie at 8, and Callan at 7, and that means that I've got Anstey on the bench as an impact player because I think maybe he hasn't quite hit his top form at the moment yet this year.
I think he's looked good. I thought he's looked very good for them, to be honest.
So what would you do?
Yeah.
To be honest, Warren...
Be honest. No, I want you to be honest.
I'll be honest. If you haven't heard it first anywhere else, I'll tell you here. But no, I think Raboni, for me, Warren Vosiato is off the bench. He's not playing 80 minutes, and he's doing some runs, but he's not really hitting rucks. He's struggling defensively to push himself to get to situations. I don't think he's offering enough around the paddock. So he'd be someone I'd bring on with some fatiguing defence, knowing he can run the ball and be very physical. So I'd be bringing him off the bench and probably starting Wells as your number 8.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
And to be fair, I mean, Nelson hasn't even mentioned Jackson Pugh yet in this podcast. So
start Pugh at 8.
Got him.
I think there is an option here.
Look, we've talked a lot. We've talked predominantly in this game about lineups, but how do we see this game go? Before we get to tips, how do we see this game going? What does each team need to do to secure the win? Let's start with the Waratahs. The Tars haven't been particularly successful so far this year, but what have they been doing wrong? What do they need to... They'll really see this as an opportunity to bag a win against the Force. What do they need? What's the game plan? What do they need to do?
Well, I think what they did right against the Brums was they actually found their defensive force, that the blue wall or whatever they call themselves, and they'd kind of gone back to that as a foundation of their game, and I think that made huge improvements for the sides. What they did wrong in that game, 2 things, I think. Firstly, they played the Brumbies. That was one thing they did wrong. And secondly, just a little bit of that composure late in the game, Ned Hannigan knocking on a good kickoff, Donaldson kicking a ball out in the full. It was just those little moments. I don't think they should be under quite as much pressure, with all due respect to the Western Force at the moment. So if they can come with that same kind of determined nature, knowing that their season really is on the line at this point, I think that their defence can really lead them through to a win. Even if it was 10-7, I think, that they have enough points in them really that they should be able to get over the top.
Very good. Nels, anything to add on that, or do you want to talk about the Force? What do the Force need to do?
No, I think that's probably a good sum up for the Tars. Look, it's difficult. I'm not sure what it is for the Force that they need to do. The biggest issue really is that chopping and changing at 10 in the centres, and therefore there's already a very weak and cohesive, outfit for this side because of, everything in the past and what's been going on for them. So they've just got to work hard for each other, no matter how lame that sounds. They've got to be putting in the efforts, keeping this game tight early on, taking the points when they're on offer, and being as physical as they can against the Tars, because the Tars haven't shown that they're necessarily going to be consistently good.
And I think, look, with Folau back, I think the rolling maul, they'll go for a good shout with that against the Tars. I think both teams will be having a good crack at the set piece of the rolling maul, because they've both shown that's a way they can score points. So they'll be looking to that weapon.
To me, the biggest turning point in this match is if Bryce Hegarty is fit. If he's fit,
yeah, I agree.
Then I feel like their backline looks like it's got some solidity to it. If it doesn't, I feel like they're just going to be papering up cracks, and I don't think their team is going to be able to stick together well enough with the time they have together as a unit to hold the Tars out. So I think he's the key for the Western Force, and if he's there, I think it'll be a one-score game, but I'll still tip the Tars on the upper end of that at 7 points.
I think Hegarty, Kunzel, Spink seems, a good outfit for them from 10 to 13.
All right, Harry said Tars he's given his tips. Now it's yours.
Harry, I clearly looked at the tips and with the betting companies, because it's at 7.5. Look, I'll say the Tars are going to really come good here, and they're going to drive this home, and they're going to win by a couple tries. I'm going to say the Tars by 12.
That's look, without just going for the outlier, I was thinking Tars by 14. So
if Hegarty's out, I'm tipping Tars by 21 for the record.
Okay.
If Hegarty's out, I'm going to say Tars by 23.
Well, then I say 24. So good. I'm getting that outlier on this game, boys. I'm telling you.